Hello. In case you don't know me, I'm Rear Admiral Jim Carey. And the video you're about to see is about my foundation's award ceremonies on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. on November 16th, 2012. But first, what is the Admiral Carey Foundation and what are these ceremonies all about? After almost 2 decades of involvement in youth leadership training, beginning during my years of service in the Reagan administration, I decided that steps needed to be taken to ensure that funds were available in the future to make sure this valuable leadership training for our best and brightest young men and women would always be there to ensure they were trained to serve our nation. At that point, around the year 2000, it had become obvious that high schools, colleges, and universities were not interested in nor even attuned to making sure our nation's youth knew that there was a way for them to play a role and participate in running our country even when they were still in their 20s. And as the best way to ensure that training would be there in the ensuing years, we decided to start the Rear Admiral James J. Carey Foundation so we could raise the money needed to continue these programs on in perpetuity. And it's working. Our foundation and the Washington Scholars Fellowship Program that I founded in 1984 continue to produce truly outstanding graduates that go on to meaningful lifetime career paths in national and international public policy. To date, the Washington Scholars have graduated over 500 scholars, and we now have over 100 of them working full-time here in Washington, D.C. as congressional staff members, at think tanks, in federal government agencies, on active and reserve duty in the military, and in a broad spectrum of national and international public policy organizations and associations, where they are most certainly playing a significant and meaningful role in helping to manage our nation while still in their 20s. Several years ago, it became obvious that our foundation's supporters and donors and sponsors was an ever-growing list of those who saw that we were having an impact on helping to make America a better nation. And we were making a difference in providing a pathway for our nation's youth to be trained and developed so they would have the credentials to qualify to become involved in the business of operating America as a nation. The success of these programs is not just because of me or just because of the foundation's immediate staff. It's because of several hundred supporters and sponsors and donors where they're helping us with funding or providing venues where our Washington Scholars can be trained, or ensuring employment for our Washington Scholar graduates who now provide 100% of the all-volunteer program management for these key programs that our foundation helps to fund. So the decision was made to begin to honor some of these great people who have been helping us and their involvement in working to make all this happen. And these ceremonies you are about to view are a direct result of that decision. So sit back and enjoy this video as you learn about the key role that 6 outstanding Americans and Canadians have played in the tremendous success of all that we do and all that we have accomplished. In each case, there is a short narrative that outlines how they have helped our foundation to provide support and leadership training, and how it has contributed to all that we do and our success in both the USA and Canada. The narrative is then followed by a short citation that documents their efforts to make all this happen, and is presented while they receive their award medallion and a copy of that citation. I think you will be both pleased and amazed at all that is being done by so many to keep our nations strong and free, and to bring some of our smartest young folks into our national and international governance. So sit back and enjoy the show. Thanks for caring about the Admiral Carey Foundation and all that we do to try to make our world a better place, and to provide a proven leadership pathway for our youth to take their rightful place in leading us into the future. Thanks for watching, and now, as they used to say in the drive-in theaters of my youth, on with the show.
Building sold twice. Welcome, everybody. Before we begin, I would like to ask if you can please check your phones and possibly put them on silent. Also, if you've noticed, here in the middle of the room we have a video camera taping tonight's event. So if you can, please make sure to leave the pathway clear between the camera and the podiums. But anyway, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Admiral Carey Foundation Annual Commitment to Leadership Awards. I'm Fernando Cortez. I'm the former Executive Director of the Washington Scholars Fellowship Program and the Chief of Staff of the Admiral Carey Foundation. Let me now introduce our founder and chairman, Rear Admiral Jim Carey, who founded both the Admiral Carey Foundation and the Washington Scholars Fellowship Program. Admiral Carey.
Thanks, Fernando, and welcome to all of you as we honor these 6 distinguished Commitment to Leadership Award recipients tonight. As I'm sure everyone here realizes, the broad spectrum of programs and projects that this foundation undertakes every year cannot and are not accomplished by just me, or by me and the foundation's officers, or by the Board of Trustees and Board of Advisors. It takes a large number of dedicated friends and colleagues, supporters, and volunteers to make it all work. And that is what led to our establishing the Admiral Carey Foundation Annual Commitment to Leadership Awards Program. And that's what this foundation is all about. A commitment to leadership to ensure the next and future generations are trained and developed and equipped to lead our 2 nations, the United States and Canada, into the rest of the 21st century and beyond. And as you will learn tonight, we are well on our way with these efforts, and we have already accomplished much by way of next generation leadership training and development for the future. Tonight we honor 6 distinguished gentlemen, all of whom have had significant involvement in what our foundation has accomplished, and all of whom have done much in their own lives and in their own right to ensure that the next and future generations of our national and international leadership are identified, trained, and assisted in pursuing lifetime career paths in the national and international public policies that are used to govern our nations and which impact upon each of us in our lives in more ways than we sometimes wish. So welcome to these ceremonies. Thank you for your support of the Admiral Carey Foundation and all that we do. Let us now recognize with you as our witnesses, 6 outstanding leaders who are giving back to society by working with us to train the national leaders of the future. Fernando, on with the show.
Thanks, Admiral. We will now begin our ceremonies. Let me start out by explaining why we do this. As the Admiral explained, our foundation's primary focus is on youth leadership, training, and leadership development, and the primary program we support is the Washington Scholars Fellowship Program. We have interns and fellows that we place throughout Washington, D.C. as congressional staff, at federal agencies, at leading think tanks, and at broad spectrum of national and international public policy organizations. We seek to interest some of the best and brightest young men and women in lifetime career paths where they can use their minds and their energies to better our nation and help some of our nation's problems. These are 10-week programs that train some 40-plus college and grad school age men and women every year in how government runs or doesn't run, how to fix it, and how to prove to them that while they are still in their 20s, they too can have an impact and help fix our country. They can also begin to start working on national and international public policy that will continue on for the rest of our lives and their lives. To date, we have had over 500 graduates of these programs and now have over 100 of our graduates working full-time here in the nation's capital city in careers where they can have maximum impact on the policies that drive our nation. None of this happens without supporters that are here in the audience tonight. Admiral Carey thought it was about time that we gave recognition to some of our strongest supporters for all they have done in their lives and careers to train and develop future leaders. And tonight, we begin that process. Our first Commitment to Leadership Award recipient, these will be done in alphabetical order, given that the distinguished credentials of all of our award recipients, is Dr. George Jakowski of Toronto, Canada. Mr. Yen, can you please escort Dr. Jakowski to the center stage? Dr. Jakowski is chairman of the Pivotal Therapeutics Corporation, Canada and the USA. He has a lifetime of achievements and accomplishments in science and biomedicine and holds no less than 141 patents for biomedical procedures, medicines, and devices. He has been a strong proponent throughout his life in training the next generation of leaders in biomedicine and has worked closely with the Admiral Carey Foundation and the Washington Scholars Fellowship Program, first by supporting Canadian participants in the Washington Scholars, and now in full support of a parallel program in Canada known as Distinguished Scholars of Canada. Mr. Brooks, please read the citation for Dr. Jakowski as Admiral Carey presents the award medallion and frame citation.
Dr. George Jakowski of Canada is hereby recognized for his lifetime commitment to his nation and his never-ending focus on the leadership training and development of current and future generations. Dr. Jakowski has spent his life's career in the pursuit of innovative biomedical solutions to many health-related maladies that plague humankind. This includes development, filing, and approval of 141 separate patents related to specific technologies and treatments designed to relieve human suffering. From his early days during his studies for his PhD to his current chairmanship of Pivotal Therapeutics of Canada and the USA, Dr. Jakowski has involved many of the best and brightest young men and women of Canada and developed and trained them to be leaders in the biomedical field. He was an early leader in involving future Canadian leaders in the Washington Scholars Program in the USA and was instrumental in partnering with the Washington Scholars in the USA in establishing a parallel program in Canada, the Distinguished Scholars of Canada, where he has funded their initial scholarship in support of this very successful and growing leadership training program. Through his lifetime of focus on ensuring Canada has always had and always will have the best and brightest of his nation's youth available to lead that nation, Dr. George Jakowski has earned this recognition by the Admiral Carey Foundation and is awarded this 2012 Commitment to Leadership Award.
Ladies and gentlemen, a warm across-the-border round of applause for Dr. Jakowski, George Jakowski. Mr. Yen, please escort Lieutenant General Klimp to center stage. Lieutenant General Jack Klimp is a retired three-star general of the United States Marine Corps, now serving as the National President of the National Association for Uniformed Services. He He has been a strong supporter of the Admiral Carey Foundation and the Washington Scholars Fellowship Program and has attended several Washington Scholars graduation ceremonies. He has continued to work with the Admiral Carey Foundation on our youth leadership training and development programs and has held discussions with Admiral Carey to begin hosting a Washington Scholar Fellow for training at the National Association for Uniformed Services. He has truly served a lifetime dedicated to leadership training in both the military and military-related organizations, including the United States Naval Academy. Commander Brooks, please read the citation.
Lieutenant General Jack Klemp, United States Marine Corps retired, is honored for his lifetime commitment to the leadership training and development of 3 generations of American men and women. Throughout his military career, from his days at the United States Naval Academy to his 3 decades and more of service in the Marine Corps, General Klemp has been a true leader and committed patriot to his support for the development of future leaders that have served our nation both in the military, the professions, and the entire fabric of our country. He has continued this focus on the leadership training and development of our nation's youth since his military retirement, in part through the scholarship programs of the National Association of Uniformed Services, where he serves as president, and through his strong and enduring support for the Washington Scholars Fellowship Program, including his own daughter, who is a graduate of this program. Through his lifetime of focus on ensuring America has always had and always will have the best and brightest of our nation's youth available to lead our nation, Lieutenant General Klemp has earned this recognition by the Admiral Carey Foundation and is awarded this 2012 Commitment to Leadership Award.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm round of applause for Lieutenant General Jack Klemp. Mr. Yan, please escort the Honorable Wilson Livingood to the center stage. The Honorable Wilson Livingood has worked closely with the Admiral Carey Foundation during his 17 years of service as the Sergeant-at-Arms of the U.S. House of Representatives. During his tenure there in our nation's capital, Bill Livingood hosted several Washington scholars whose interests lay in law enforcement and criminal justice to participate in a youth leadership program he had started with the Capitol Hill Police. Proof positive of the tremendous effect this program had on these Washington Scholars graduates is that several of them were hired full-time on the Sergeant-at-Arms staff due to their outstanding performance there, while others have gone on to significant law enforcement and criminal justice careers with the Capitol Hill Police, NCIS, the security detail for the Secretary of Transportation, and the Pentagon Police Force. And these accomplishments are just part of the legacy of Wilson Livingood. As you are about to hear, Commander Brooks, please read the citation.
The Honorable Wilson Livingood is hereby recognized for his lifetime of commitment to our nation and his never-ending focus on the leadership training and development of current and future generations. During his decades of federal service to the U.S. Secret Service, he ensured that new agents were always well-trained and ready to move into leadership roles should they be called upon to do so. These leadership development efforts continued throughout his service as head of the Presidential Protective Detail at the White House. During his service as a Sergeant of Arms of the U.S. House of Representatives, Bill Livingood established an exceptional youth leadership training and development program in partnership with the Capitol Hill Police that included several fellows of the Washington Scholars Fellowship Program, an experience that has led these Washington Scholars graduates continuing to serve in law enforcement and criminal justice to this day. Through his lifetime of focus on ensuring America has always had and will always have the best and brightest of our nation's youth available to lead our nation, the Honorable Wilson Livingood has earned this recognition by the Admiral Carey Foundation and is awarded this 2012 Commitment to Leadership Award.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm round of applause for the Honorable Wilson Livingood. Mr. Yan, please escort the Honorable Edwin Meese III to center stage. Former Attorney General Ed Meese is known to many, many Washington Scholars graduates here tonight, since he has had a Washington Scholar Fellow on his staff at Heritage Foundation continuously since 1999. Ed Meese has been a longtime friend of our founder, Admiral Carey, since they both served in the Reagan administration together. Mr. Meese at the White House and then as Attorney General of the United States, and Admiral Carey as Chairman of the U.S. Federal Maritime Commission. And they both well remember when they were conducted ceremonies very similar to what that we are doing today when they held the Reagan administration Reagan Revolution Medal of Honor ceremonies during the Reagan presidency. But that was then, and this is now. And today, we honor former Attorney General Meese for his lifetime of service to America and his lifetime of commitment to the leadership training and development of 3 generations of young Americans. Commander Brooks, please read the citation for General Meese.
The Honorable Edwin Meese III is hereby recognized for his lifetime of commitment to our nation and his never-ending focus on the leadership training and development of the current and future generations. Whether it be during his service in the Army or during his law school professor days, his service on the governor's staff of the state of California, or his service as counselor to President Reagan in the White House and later as Attorney General of the United States, Ed Meese has always kept his focus on being a teacher and leader in training future generations and ensuring their leadership development and readiness to lead our nation when their time to serve arrives. He has continued these exceptional efforts at the Heritage Foundation, where he has had a fellow of the Washington Scholars Program on his staff continuously for the past 12 years. Throughout his lifetime of focus on ensuring America has always had and always will have the best and brightest of our nation's youth available to lead our nation, the Honorable Edwin Meese III has earned this recognition by the Admiral Carey Foundation and is awarded this 2012 Commitment to Leadership Award.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a warm round of applause for Attorney General Meese. Mr. Yuan, please escort the Honorable Ed Pease to center stage. Congressman Pease has an incredible lifetime record of support and commitment to leadership training and development in a broad range of youth groups that range from the university staffs to fraternity leaders to the Boy Scouts of America to congressional staff during a career spanning 30-plus years. He has been active with these groups at local, regional, national, and international levels, and throughout all of this has been a good friend and supporter of the Admiral Carey Foundation and the Washington Scholars Fellowship programs. He continues this work to this very day, mentoring young men and women who are former members of his congressional staff and continuing to serve on the board of the Philmont Scout Ranch, where he also maintains a summer home. Congressman Pease is being honored today for his lifetime of service and his tremendous proven record of youth leadership training for over 30 years. Commander Brooks, would you read the citation for Congressman Pease?
The Honorable Ed Pease is hereby recognized for his lifetime of commitment to our nation and his never-ending focus on the leadership training and development of current and future generations. Throughout his career on university staffs and local government and several youth organizations, he has always retained his focus on the importance of youth leadership training that will provide future leaders for our country. He has continued that commitment and lifetime service to his college fraternity, Phi Kappa Alpha, and to all fraternal organizations through his presidency of the North American Interfraternity Conference. His decades of leadership service in the Boy Scouts of America at the local, regional, and national levels have been without equal, and his commitment to youth leadership while serving as a member of the U.S. House of Representatives from Indiana has been recognized by his congressional colleagues. Throughout his lifetime, a focus on ensuring America has always had and always will have the best and brightest of our nation's youth available to lead our nation. The Honorable Ed Pease has earned this recognition by the Admiral Carey Foundation and is awarded this 2012 Commitment to Leadership Award.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a warm round of applause for Congressman Ed Pease. Mr. Nguyen, please escort Lieutenant Colonel Walter Purcell of Canada to center stage. Lieutenant Colonel Walter Purcell of Canada has been a good friend and colleague of the Admiral Carey Foundation and the Washington Scholars Programs for the last decade. In his role as a professor at York University in Toronto, where he teaches Homeland Security and contingency planning for cities and corporations, Professor Purcell has regularly identified some of his best and brightest graduate students who have the potential to be national or international leaders, and he has mentored them and sponsored them into the Washington Scholars Program here in the U.S. He has been instrumental in our work with the Canadian Embassy here in Washington, and he has used the experience gained through the Washington Scholars to found the Distinguished Scholars of Canada, now in operation both here in the U.S. and in Ottawa, Canada, working directly with several ministers of the federal government there in Canada's capital city. Lieutenant Colonel Purcell now serves as the chairman of the Distinguished Scholars of Canada program. Commander Brooks, please read the citation for Professor Purcell.
Lieutenant Colonel Walter Purcell of Canada is hereby recognized for his lifetime of commitment to his nation and his never-ending focus on the leadership training and development of current and future generations. Throughout his tenure as a professor at York University of Toronto, Canada, Colonel Purcell has always maintained a focus on selecting the best and brightest of his students for leadership training and development related to the Homeland Security's program in Canada. He continued and expanded those efforts during his service as commanding officer of the Royal Regiment of Canada. He initiated a Canada-United States partnership that led to the involvement of some of the best and brightest young men and women of Canada in the Washington Scholars Program in the USA, and then used his core group of trained future leaders to establish a parallel program in Canada, the Distinguished Scholars of Canada, where he currently serves as chairman. Through his lifetime of focus on ensuring Canada has always had and will always have the best and brightest of his nation's youth available to lead that nation, Lieutenant Colonel Walter Purcell has earned this recognition by the Admiral Carey Foundation and is awarded this 2012 Commitment to Leadership Award.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in a warm round, hand across the border applause for Lieutenant Purcell. Will all the award recipients now join Admiral Carey at center stage for group photographs? For those of you in the audience with cameras, now is your only chance to get this group photo.
Okay, I'm going to get it, yeah. Okay.
Hold your citations up, please. Let me get behind you like this to give you a little more room.
Ladies and gentlemen, this completes the 2012 Admiral Carey Foundation Commitment to Leadership Awards. Please now feel free to approach the stage and shake the hands of all of our award recipients. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you again at these ceremonies next year. This concludes our ceremonies.